Time for Today in History for Monday, September 9th, 2013. And we'll have more of Today in History in just a moment from the Associated Press. On this day in 1979, September 9th, 1979, Sid Bernstein offered $500,000. Oh, let's check that again. Offered $500 million for a Beatles reunion. $500 million for a Beatles reunion. You know, I'm doubting that Ringo was the one holding out. $500 million, and they said no. That's when you know you have a lot of money that you're going to say, nah, we're not going to do it. Ivy said, hell yeah, I'll do it. Didn't have to be good, you just said to show up for a reunion. It was on this date in 1979. Well, for more of Today in History, here is the AP.
September 9th, 1971. Inmates seize control of the Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York. After a 4-day siege, police and guards storm the maximum security prison near Buffalo. The ordeal leaves 32 inmates and 11 prison employees dead, with hundreds more wounded. 1976. Mao Zedong, founding leader of Communist China, dies in Beijing at age 82 after years of tumultuous and autocratic rule. Under Mao's successors, China embraces free market reforms, becoming one of the world's fastest-growing economies. 1956. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. A milestone in early rock and roll, Elvis Presley makes the first of 3 celebrated TV appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show on CBS. And 1941. Otis Redding, the soul singer and songwriter, is born in Dawson, Georgia. Among his songs, Respect, best known as a hit for Aretha Franklin, Try a Little Tenderness, and Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. Today in History, September 9th, Carlotta Bradley, The Associated Press.
You know what they do in San Francisco, some of the gay community, they want to get people, so if they've got the stuff, they'll have a ring, you shake hands, and the ring's got a little thing where you cut your finger.
Really?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's that kind of vicious stuff, which would be the equivalent of murder.
Thank you, Pat Robertson. You are a true crusader, and we definitely didn't consider just permanently changing the name of this segment to the Pat Robertson list, although it does have a certain ring to it. That does.
It's time for today's market report. We'll join the good folks at APM Radio in just a moment for more comprehensive market information on this Monday. In the meantime, yours truly is going to take a stab at what happened on Friday. As soon as I get my act together here, bear with me. And here we go. U.S. stocks had a mixed close after volatile trading on Friday, after job market data removed some uncertainty about Federal Reserve policy, and after Russian President Vladimir Putin said he would maintain his long-standing support for Syria if the West were to attack. The Standard & Poor's 500 index gained 0.09 of a point, closing at 1,655. The Dow Jones Industrials average fell nearly 15 points, closing at 14,922. And the NASDAQ Composite added a little over a point, closing at 3,660. For the week, the S&P 500 is up a little over 1%, and the NASDAQ is up 1.1%. The Dow is up 0.6% after 4 weekly declines. The U.S. August payrolls, let's see how they panned out. Pull that down just a wee bit more. The U.S. August payrolls showed about 169,000 jobs were added, fewer than 180,000 that had been expected, and July's figure was revised sharply lower. The unemployment rate fell to 7.3%, its lowest since December 2008, though the decline reflected a drop in the share of working-age Americans who either have a job or are looking for one. Many analysts, meanwhile, said despite the weak jobs report, the U.S. Central Bank would not adjust plans to slow its stimulus, currently at $85 billion a month in bond purchases. Kansas City Fed President Esther George, a consultant hawk who has argued for a tapering in bond purchases all year, said reducing purchases to $70 billion a month could be, quote and unquote, an appropriate next step toward normalizing monetary policy. And that is a quick look at Friday's market information on this Monday. Still to come, we'll have popular tweets of the day, along with news of the weird, the song of the day, what's on TV tonight, all coming up in the next few minutes. Right now, though, I'm going to send it over to the good folks at CBS Radio. And for today's World News Roundup in just a moment. But first, let's go to APM, shall we? And today's market summary.
This Marketplace podcast is supported by Squarespace, providing creative tools to help bring your ideas to life online. Squarespace offers beautiful templates, customizable designs, 24/7 support, and free domain names. Learn more at squarespace.com, promo code APM.
A bet that the wave of the future is Europe. From APM in New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the global perspective on business and economics. We've been following the money as investors continue to shift away from emerging markets since the spring. Where it has been going instead, a key answer today, Europe. The Financial Times is reporting that American investors have put more money into European stocks than at any time since 1977. It's a long time ago. Gerald Ford was president. $65 billion in the first 6 months of this year went into European stocks, according to data compiled by Goldman Sachs. European telecommunications companies have gotten some of it, utilities and financial companies as well. Some big dogs, U.S. pension funds and other institutional investors, are making a play that the European financial crisis is finally bouncing from its nadir. Marketplace's European editor Stephen Beard.
This is yet another sign that the US is getting more confident about the Eurozone. Earlier in the summer, we also heard that US money market funds had pumped $100 billion into short-term deposits and other securities with the Eurozone banks. The crisis has certainly receded since the head of the European Central Bank promised last year to do what it takes to save the euro. But few people here believe the crisis is definitely over. It's been on hold during the German election campaign, but Greece needs a third bailout. That won't go down well with German taxpayers. This crisis could easily flare up again in the fall.
Marketplace's Stephen Beard in London. Now let's check the numbers. The story of the morning from the market so far is Japan. Economic reform is really juicing things up there, and today that country's GDP was revised sharply upward. It's now growing at a 3.8% annualized rate, and the Nikkei stock index rose 2.5%. The FT100 stock index in London is down 0.4%. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are up right now. When is the right time to retire? The answer the economy is sending many of us is, how about never? If we have to keep working to keep an okay standard of living going, what about jobs later in life that are more fulfilling? A new industry is springing up around this modern form of never quite retiring. Marketplace's economics guy Chris Farrell joins us. Morning, Chris.
Good morning, David.
So work till you drop is one way to look at it. Is there another way?
Well, I hope there is another way for a lot of people that need to make an income. That's the lesson of 2 bear markets and 2 recessions in less than a decade. Most of us are going to have to work for a longer period of time, well into the traditional retirement years. So there's a growth industry that is emerging in its grassroots, and it has nonprofit actors, consultants, financial advisors, trying to help people try and figure out, what are you going to do? You want something that gives you meaning plus gives you an income.
Some of these are jobs that actually don't just accrue benefits to the person doing the work. They might be jobs that give back to society in some way. But where do you start the search for something like that?
Most of us, when we think about jobs, it's really about your network, right? You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. But the demand is so great as this industry is growing. It seems like every city is becoming a hothouse of advice. So in Portland, you have Life by Design. There's an organization in New York, Reserve, and they match 55 plus professionals. And there might be a nonprofit over here or a government agency or some sort of public institution that could really tap into that expertise, and the older worker stays active and the nonprofit or the government agency benefits. So, David, these organizations are becoming clearinghouses of information.
And you mentioned grassroots at this stage, so there's not a couple of big players that are dominating yet.
No, it's much more these smaller organizations, a lot of career coaches. Frankly, it's a lot of people who have confronted this. And they realize, okay, I've learned something by making this transition. I want to help other people. Probably the major organization is Encore. It's been proselytizing about second and third careers, and not just making money in this second or third career, but trying to do some good while you're still making income.
Chris Farrell, Marketplace's economics guy. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Get Marketplace's top headlines, podcasts, and special features delivered right to your inbox each day. Subscribe to the Midday Update newsletter at marketplace.org.
He became a kind of trivial pursuit question in the intervening years, but an accomplished late-night TV host is coming back. Arsenio Hall, who was all the rage in 1989, has a new syndicated show kicking off in 50 big markets. Marketplace's Queena Kim has more.
The last time Arsenio Hall had a show, this was the sound of late night.
Here's Johnny.
Today, the landscape is more divided than the Balkans. Brad Adgate is an analyst at Horizon Media.
It's very competitive with Jimmy Kimmel and David Letterman and Jay Leno.
But Adgate says Arsenio does have name recognition, even if it's not among the 18 to 35-year-olds that advertisers care about.
The notion that this is a young audience isn't really true.
Adgate says most late-night TV viewers are in their 50s. Cynthia Littleton covers TV for Variety. She says being a syndicated show works in Arsenio's favor.
CBS, in this case, sells the show to a different station in each television market.
Littleton says Arsenio's success doesn't hinge on beating Leno. Success means he needs to sell more ads than the reruns the stations cut to make room for him. In San Francisco, I'm Queena Kim for Marketplace.
And someone acting all British, but you think they're faking? Well, here's a test. Ask them to describe Ribena. Today, the Japanese drinks company Suntory said it's paying $2.1 billion to buy Ribena from Britain's GlaxoSmithKline, which you thought was only a pharmaceutical company. It's also getting Lucozade sports drinks. Kids throughout the British Commonwealth will tell you that Ribena is a syrup made from the juice of the black currant. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
So he's obsessed. He has a compulsion. I would think it is somehow related to demonic possession. You've got a couple of same-sex guys kissing. You like that. Well, that makes me want to throw up. But if you think you punch, to me, I would punch vomit, not like.
Not sure that option's there. But
they don't give you that option on Facebook. Really?
All I can say is, Sam, wow.
Syria's president denies using chemical weapons.
Will there be attacks against American bases in the Middle East if there's an airstrike?
You should expect everything.
President Obama pushes for U.S. action.
In 6 TV interviews today.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kathan with the CBS World News Roundup.
Hands up, Syria!
Americans against military action in Syria took to the streets of major cities yesterday, and as President Obama unleashes a new push for support this week, comes a denial and a warning from Syria's President Assad. In an exclusive interview with CBS This Morning's Charlie Rose, he insists his forces did not use chemical weapons last month against his own people outside Damascus.
What happened in your judgment?
We're not in the area where the alleged chemical attack was happened, as it alleged. We're not sure that anything had been caused.
Even at this date, you are not sure that chemical weapons, even though you have seen the videotape, even though you've seen the bodies, even though your own officials have been there?
I haven't finished. We only had video, and we only have pictures.